the extent of the clickbait is just, I would say, is problematic, which is one of the biggest kind of hindrances I've found with Lilly's content. Today's video is covering somebody I have covered many moons ago in the past, and that's Lilly Sabri. And this workout was actually sent to me on the line via the Instagram DMs. Someone said, "Hey Harry, can you have a gander at this?" And I said, you know what, I think that's a good shout, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a gander at this. Well, this, but you know what I mean. But before we do so, I want to quickly say just another thank you. Obviously, I know the last video had a thank you. This video also has a thank you. Obviously, I know since the channel grew a lot, the comments have been unreal. So many comments, so much engagement, and honestly, I bloody adore it. Cannot thank you enough. I go through all of the comments and I read every single one of them, although I have been quite slow with replies on a few videos now. That's mainly because I've been doing some assignment work, which is due this Thursday. So once that's out the way, we're good. I just wanted to recognise, acknowledge and appreciate all of you for just being so overwhelmingly positive in the comment section, consistently, video after video, week after week. I genuinely can't thank you enough. It's almost exciting for me when I upload a video. I leave it a bit and I come back to it and I just see all of the positive comments. It's just great. I love it. What I'm going to try and do is when the assignment is out the way in a few days, I'm going to try and get back on top of the comments. Again, I won't be able to reply to all of them, but I will reply to as many of them as I can. But I just wanted you to know that I am sorry I've been so slow and crappy, but I do just really appreciate how positive and just supportive you always are every week. But now it is time to do something. No, actually it's a lie. It's not time to do the thing I thought we were going to do. It's time to do the other things I haven't done yet, which I normally do before the thing. If at any point throughout the video you decide that you tolerate the video, please let me know you tolerate the video by clicking the like button down below. 1,200 likes in the first 24 hours is the goal, so if we could reach that, that'd be bloody splendid. If you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below and subscribing to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video for comment question of the week, please drop it down below and I shall do so. I'm pre-warning you now, we've got some good videos coming up. We've got quite a few prepped in the tank. There's some good ones, so look forward to those because they won't disappoint. We must crack on with the actual video of today, which is Lilly Sabri and her sexy 11-line abs in 14 days, 6-minute workout. So a lot of times I make comments throughout my videos saying how big my forehead is. Let's be honest, I'm gonna look at the size of that. I look like Pennywise the dancing clown. A wonder of the world, if you ask me. It really is. And I say to people, oh, my head is really big, and they say, no, I see you in the comments say, Harry, your head's not big. First of all, wait till you see me in person, then you'll be like, ooh, made a mistake there. But second of all, I've come here to prove something to you. This is actually a full-sized hat, but my head is so large it makes it look like a small hat. That's how big my head really is. It's incredible. It really is. If anything, I'm proud of the size of my head because my mum always told me, you know, big head, big brain. Don't think that's true, but we can pretend. We can pretend, okay? Alright, now I've waffled for far longer than I should have. Shock, what's new? We're going to talk about the video. The first thing I want to kind of go to is obviously a sexy 11-line abs. So what she means by 11 lines, as you can see, where the rectus abdominis, which is like the six-pack muscles, almost meet the external obliques, well, obviously the obliques down the side, you get the kind of divide, which is what those 11 lines are. That is very much dependent on body fat percentage. Obviously, the abdominal region is a muscle, and I believe you should train it like any other muscle. If you want it to develop, you train it in a manner that maybe promotes hypertrophy. However you choose to do that is up to you. And then when you are leaner, so lower body fat percentage, you can then see more definition and then highlight the separation a bit more. So that's essentially how one would go about achieving that look. And obviously I spoke about in the last video how to achieve a calorie deficit, essentially move more, eat less, resistance train, which actually Lilly does speak about in her disclaimer, but we'll get to that in a minute. So Lilly's basically implying that if you do this 6-minute workout within 14 days, you'll start to see those 11 lines. So that's her title. And then the first block of the description is, these ab exercises will help you lose belly fat and show you how to get a flat stomach and slim waist at home. For the best visible ab results, do this with good nutrition and my fat loss workouts. And this is probably the first bit people read when looking at description, because before you press show more, you get to see the first 3 lines or so, and they might have a quick read of that and maybe like, oh, okay, cool. Not many people read the rest. But then if you scroll down to the bottom of the description, please remember that we cannot spot reduce fat, meaning we can't choose the areas on our body where we lose fat. However, to get fat loss results, I recommend the following. Being in a calorie deficit, cardio/HIIT workout, and resistance training. So it's very much what I promote, which is if you want to lose weight for whatever reason that may be, calorie deficit by eating a bit less, move a bit more, so increase calorie expenditure, which could be just even doing more steps every day, and then doing resistance training, lifting weights. A bloody effective triangle of success when it comes to weight loss. The issue I have with that, although I do appreciate there is a disclaimer in there, again, it is unfortunate it's at the bottom. The title and the top of the description is to some extent contradicted by the disclaimer. I completely understand clickbait. Again, I have to incorporate it myself, as I openly admit, unfortunately, because essentially that is just how the YouTube algorithm works. It's annoying. I don't like it either. Actually, I very much dislike it. Unfortunately, if you do want to grow a platform on YouTube, you do kind of have to play the YouTube game, which again is such a hindrance. There's nothing we can do about it. But what we can do about it is be considerate and be careful with our titling and the extent of the clickbait. As I kind of mentioned this in the last video. Clickbait that promotes unrealistic expectations and false promises, like this, I really don't get behind. Because again, I'm very much repeating what I said in the last video. When people don't achieve the results they expected to achieve based on the title and maybe the first block of the description, they then very much blame themselves, saying that, well, this person promised me this by saying I should achieve this doing this workout, but I haven't. I'm the problem. It's my fault. Why aren't I good enough? When the actual reality is, it shouldn't be the blame of oneself. It should more be the consideration of, have they misled me? Is their title actually entirely accurate? Are my expectations due to the title realistic? And the answer to that is they probably aren't realistic, no, because the title and the description encourage you to form unrealistic expectations and expect unrealistic results, which is one of the biggest kind of hindrances I've found with Lily's content. I think she's an extremely energetic person. She strikes me as extremely positive. She's actually quite enjoyable to watch because she's such positive energy, which almost encourages you to feel positive as well. But it's the extent of the clickbait is just, I would say, is problematic. But now I've waffled about that, we're actually going to look at the workout, which is probably why you're actually here. So again, forgive me.
This is your sexy 11-line abs home workout. It's just 6 minutes long, no equipment needed, and I can guarantee I'm gonna have your core on fire.
And this kind of goes back to what I've said a few times before. Just because you're hurting it doesn't mean you'll work it. I could give you a bicep workout that would take 3 minutes, that will give you the most horrendous cramping and pumping pain, but it doesn't actually mean it's very effective. Whereas I could give you a bicep workout that's far less pain inducing, we'll say, that I can put money on it being far more effective. The degree of pain and the amount a workout hurts doesn't necessarily reflect how effective it is. The thing I like about jumping straight into movements, oh, there's a dog. I watched this earlier and I thought to myself, because I watched it on my phone, I was like, I can't see the dog. Where's the dog? And I know Lily's got a dog, and you know I love dogs. The thing I like about the inclusion of movements like this is it very much does, to some extent, reduce the distance between the sternum and the pelvis, which is very much what we want to do when we are looking at effectively targeting the abdominal region. I'd make it really simple and just stick to just a bog standard crunch. I think realistically, when making movements like this more effective, because this is more of like a sit-up variation, when you're lying down on the floor, almost just rolling your spine along the floor, and just like I said, decreasing the distance between your sternum and your pelvis. So obviously Lily's trying to get the side bend in to bring in those kind of external obliques a bit, which again, the muscle down the side of the abdominal region, which can contribute to like the V shape you get at the bottom. Lily's holding her head here because a lot of people can get neck pain when they do movements like this, because obviously you have to hold your neck under tension for a while. If you want to hold your head, I think that's fine. Someone else told me a trick ages ago, and I don't know if this works, so don't hold me to this, but they always used to tell me, push your tongue to the roof of your mouth. It helped alleviate any pain they were getting when they were doing any abdominal variation similar to this. So again, I don't know if it works. I've never tried it myself, but sure, maybe it does. You let me know in the comments below. Does pushing your tongue to the roof of your mouth help with your neck pain? I want to just clarify, I'm not looking at this from the position of optimizing hypertrophy. I'm looking at this for what it is, which is an ab workout at home with no equipment. I will maybe give some additional input at the end of it, but let's just look at this workout for its intention. So the bicycle crunch is an okay movement because you are reducing the distance between your sternum and your pelvis, which is good. And you're also in some rotation, which then, obviously, as I mentioned at the start of the video, the 11 lines is obviously the separation between the rectus abdominis and the external oblique. Rectus abdominis will primarily be worked through movements like the crunch, so ones that do reduce the range of motion between your sternum and your pelvis, whereas your external obliques will be very much worked through movements that encourage either rotation or anti-rotation, ideally against resistance, but I'm acknowledging there is no resistance here, so I'm not really going to spend too much time encouraging the use of resistance, because I know that's not an option, as this is a no equipment workout for a reason. Doing movements like that where you're getting the crunch and the rotation, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. What I don't really like about it is this extension of the knee here. So this bit's fine, but this extension of the knee is maybe a bit unnecessary. I think it's more just to make it look a bit cooler, whereas I think a regular bicycle crunch, which is coming up now, would probably be a better shout. So again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, very much reducing the distance between the sternum and the pelvis. Fantastic. I'm going to drill that so many times because this very much goes over to like when people do standing ab workouts. When I say you need to reduce the distance between the pelvis and the sternum, it needs to be against resistance. And in this case, that resistance is going to be gravity because we're lying down and not standing. Whereas if you were standing, gravity would be reducing that distance. The muscles wouldn't be having to work too hard to reduce that distance. Russian twist again is a rotational movement, therefore the obliques are a big driver for that rotation. The big thing with like a Russian twist is I kind of limit how much your arms are moving. Lily's basically plopping her arms either side. What I would do, lock the elbows in and really focus on twisting with the body. Really make sure those obliques are driving that rotation and you're not just kind of just moving the arms and shoulders around. A leg raise with like a bit of a thrust at the top and a rotation. Again, I'm not sure I would include the rotation personally. I think if you are going to do a movement like this, obviously the hands are down here for a bit of support. I do the leg raise and then the thrust at the top to then further reduce the distance between the sternum and the pelvis, but I don't think I'd worry too much about the rotation. I like how Lilly includes modifications. That's really cool. I think it's a really good shout there. Respect that. This is very much a good example of a just because you're hurting it doesn't mean you work it type movement. Lily's obviously holding her legs off the ground, and this is going to cause a mass amount of burning because the areas in question, which are very much going to be to some extent the abdominal region, but largely also the hip flexors, which come down at the bottom of the abdominal region, kind of go into the quads a bit, like this kind of region here. This is going to put them under a lot of tension to hold those legs off the ground, and due to that amount of time under tension, that is going to cause a real burning sensation, like they're really hurting, and therefore make you think they're really working. And sure, the muscles are really working, but the movement may not be, if that makes sense. So the muscles obviously have to do their job to keep the legs off the ground. Does that mean they're working effectively, i.e. going through an active range of motion? No. Let's give the example of like a biceps. So to lift this, I need to contract my biceps. It's not very heavy, but I'm having to use my biceps to do this. Again, I could hold this there for ages and eventually it will really start to hurt just because my biceps are under some load for a long period of time. That's not massively effective when it comes to like the development of the muscle because it's not going through what we call our active range of motion, which is essentially when it's lengthened and then shortened. And when I say active range of motion, I mean the range of motion your body naturally goes through to work that muscle. So when I'm thinking of, let's say, a Russian twist, for example. So if I can twist to here, that's as far as I can go. This is my active range of motion now, because that's as far as I can go naturally. If I then add weight and swing it round, so almost use that weight to carry momentum further than my natural ROM, so my active range of motion, we're now outside of our active range of motion, which is something we typically want to avoid. So yeah, this movement will definitely burn the kind of abdominal region and the hip flexors especially, but it doesn't mean it's massively effective. A more effective movement would take that muscle or those muscles through more of an active range of motion rather than just holding them in a contracted position for a significant period of time, which is also what we would consider an isometric movement, which sure, do have a time and a place, but it depends what that goal is. The plank is another example. So it's a solid movement for core stability, but not necessarily a solid movement for core strengthening, which very much refers more to the building of the muscle and the muscle's ability to go through its active range of motion with resistance or against resistance. Time and a place. It's good for something, but it depends what you want it to be good for. This very much comes back into what I was saying about the leg raise variation. Because she's holding this position for a period of time, this is actually going to cause quite a lot of burning. Again, doesn't mean it's massively effective. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just merely stating it may almost trick you into thinking it's more effective than it actually is just because it's causing a lot more hurting and pain than other movements might. And I think the big thing to consider is like, what are your goals? As I always say with anyone I cover, I really appreciate the fact that they're putting effort into creating free workout content for people who are potentially limited to working out at home, or maybe just want to work out at home and don't have equipment for whatever reason. I respect that and I appreciate that. Considering it's a no equipment home workout in 6 minutes, considering all those variables, I think it's okay. If it were to eliminate the time and then add in some equipment for a home workout for the abdominal region and the kind of the obliques, I would very much suggest what I suggested in the Chloe Ting video, I believe it was, in which we get a band, get some weight, and just do 3 movements, maybe 2 crunch variations and 1 rotational movement, 2 or 3 sets of each with enough rest in between, 2 if not close to failure against that resistance, working in the, let's say, 5 to 30 rep range. Realistically probably going to be a bit higher for the abdominal region, so maybe the 8 to 30, and just focus on just progressively overloading it, because that's a really effective means of developing the abdominal region. But consider it's a no equipment home workout. What can you do to make this more effective? Let's say you do have 6 minutes, we're going to isolate it to that. I would just use 3 movements. So let's say I chuck in the bicycle crunch. We might do one of those. We might do a regular crunch, and then we might also do a side plank, for example. I do those 3 movements and just focus on those 3, and maybe just spend more time doing those movements rather than scattering the 6-minute allocated slot across even more movements. Just quality over quantity. And then regarding how you could progressively overload movements like that without any additional resistance, again, I'll always say if you can add a bit of weight, fantastic, but if you can't, completely understand. What you can do is just do more. So by that I mean maybe do some more reps, do it for a slightly longer time, just do a little bit more each week. But no, you will not be able to progressively overload every week. There are many things to consider. You might have a bad mental health day. Other factors, stress, fatigue, sleep, eating, hydration, all sorts might have been a bit iffy for a bit, and they might contribute to your performance suffering. So many things to consider, but if you can, always try your best to do more each week. Little and often, baby steps are still steps. And that's going to get into a common question of the week, actually. How much time is needed to make training effective? What I mean is, how long should a workout be to produce visible and noticeable effects in the long run? So there's a big idea saying, for muscle building, you shouldn't work out for more than an hour. No, that's not true. That is just not true. You work out for as long as you need to work out to complete your session. If that's 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes, fantastic. If that's 2.5 hours, that's 2.5 hours, fantastic. So for example, my workouts probably last, I would say on average, about an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. But then that being said, don't work out for an excessive period of time for the sake of it. More is not always better, is why I always preach quality over quantity. But sometimes high quality also results in high quantity, so a longer workout. Please don't compare yourself to these other people. Please don't set yourself unrealistic expectations based on what others are promising you, and please don't set yourself unrealistic workout goals just because you feel like this individual told you that this is better. What's better and what's best for you is what you can remain most consistent with. I may have an hour and a half to train, you may have 20 minutes to train. Why would I ask you to train for an hour and a half if you can't do so? If you can train for 20 minutes, you train for 20 minutes. Regardless of optimization, you make sure that you bloody well enjoy those 20 minutes, because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're probably not going to stick to it. And enjoyment is a huge factor when looking at training or any aspect of life. But that is it. That is the video. If you like the video, please let me know you like the video by dropping a like on the video. 1,200 likes in the first 24 hours is the goal. So if we reach that, that'd be bloody stupendous. If you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below and subscribing to the channel. And maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you too have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, drop it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my comically large head and actually comically small hat. And thank you for tolerating the video.